Bible verse that really goes well with this affection-based obedience topic is 1 John chapter 2 verses 3 through 5. By this we know that we have come to know him if we keep his commandments. The one who says, I have come to know him and does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever keeps his word, in him the love of God has truly been perfected. So when it comes to displaying our love to Jesus, you can see that there is a direct correlation between us obeying God and his commandments and us loving God. Now, I want to go into 3 different types of way that we can really obey Jesus. I believe that all 3 of these ways that we can obey Jesus are fine in and of themselves. I do believe that one, as you will see, is better to have than others, but it doesn't mean that if you're living out of any of these 3 dimensions that you're in sin or doing something wrong. It's just different ways that motivate us to obey God. The first type of obedience I want to talk about is fear-based obedience, and this is basically choosing to obey God because you do not want to experience the consequences of not obeying God. You have a fearful heart towards the Lord, knowing that he is powerful, he can do all things, and you want to obey him because you fear the consequences of not obeying him. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've made that decision plenty of times in my life, and it's actually a healthy decision to make. It's just difficult sometimes to always get the revelation that we should be fearing God. Oftentimes when we're acting or I'm acting in sin, my head is not so much focused on the consequences that are going to come from that action. And so it's not always the most effective means for obedience. The second type of obedience I want to talk about is a faith-based obedience. Now, this sounds like this should be the upper echelon of obeying God, and it's still a great thing, but still not quite what we're going to be discussing next, which is affection-based obedience. So faith-based obedience basically says, I have faith in God, I know this is the right thing to do, and so in a sense you're gritting your teeth and you're really pushing yourself to obey Jesus in a certain area because you have faith that that's the right thing to do, that that's what God would want me to do, and that's what I should be doing. So your faith really propels you to obey him in that arena. So the first 2 types of obedience I believe are great and very, very necessary still in the Christian life, but I do believe that this affection-based obedience surpasses them all, and here's why. I believe that affection-based obedience is far more effective in the actual obeying God on a day-to-day basis. And when I'm saying affection-based obedience, what I mean is you have a heart after God, you're loving God, you're connecting with him, and that intimacy is strong between you and God. And from that point of love, you choose to obey. I believe that this is the most effective motivation for obedience because lovers are always going to outwork workers, or lovers are always going to really strive for that obedience more than just kind of putting your head down and grinding through something. And so I think it's really important that we do cultivate that love in our heart for God, and then the greatest way that we can display that is from that point of love, from that point of intimacy that we have with Jesus, we then choose to obey him in our life. So in this arena of our Meaning of Life series, the giving love to God, it's important that we revisit another scripture that really teaches us how we can even love God in the first place. And that scripture is 1 John chapter 4, verse 19. We love because he first loved us. So I believe what this verse is saying is we are really drawn into affection for Jesus because we recognize the affection that he has for us. We get spurred on in love for God by sitting and being with God and recognizing the deep love that he has for us. The love for God isn't something that just kind of springs up out of nowhere. It is cultivated by connecting with God, by understanding how he feels about you, how he feels about me, and then from that point being able to display and show and just lavish our love on God.